For 6 centuries, one empire fought war after war against kings, sultans, crusaders, republics, rebels, and rising European powers. They conquered lands. They lost lands. They rebuilt borders. They survived crises. And through all of it, they managed something almost no other empire ever did. They didn't go bankrupt doing it. Because the Ottoman Empire didn't just fight wars. They figured out how to pay for war over and over again. The Ottoman Empire lasted from around 1299 to 1922. Longer than Rome. Longer than Britain. Longer than almost any empire we usually talk about. But longevity isn't the real mystery. The real question is this: how does an empire that fights almost constantly avoid financial collapse? Most people assume empires fall when they lose battles. That's rarely true. Empires fall when budgets fail, when logistics break, when money runs out. The Ottomans understood this early. Instead of copying Europe's tax and payroll armies, they built something far more efficient. They built a system where war could pay for itself. To understand how, we need to rewind to the beginning. The Ottomans started as a small frontier state in northwest Anatolia, led by Osman I, a warlord with limited resources but perfect timing. As Byzantine power collapsed and Mongol influence faded, Osman's followers moved into newly available territory. Every early victory wasn't just military success. It was financial gain. Land, crops, villages, taxpayers. From the very beginning, conquest wasn't a cost. It was an income stream. By the time the Ottomans captured Bursa in 1326 and crossed into Europe a few decades later, they controlled the crossroads between Europe and Asia. In medieval economics, that's everything. Silk, spices, horses, weapons, timber. All of it moved through Ottoman territory, and every movement was taxed. This gave the empire something more important than raw resources: cash flow. War needs food, metal, and men. The Ottomans didn't always have more of these, but they had reliable money coming in. Still, trade alone doesn't explain 6 centuries of warfare. What made the difference was design. This is where the Taimar system comes in. Instead of paying soldiers salaries, the Ottomans paid them with rights. A cavalry soldier, a sipahi, was assigned a district and allowed to collect its taxes. In return, he equipped himself, maintained his horse, and showed up for war fully armed. No salary, no payroll. The state saved money. The soldier had stable income. The villages had predictable authority. War became cheap. European kings had to pay mercenaries in cash. If the money stopped, loyalty vanished. Ottoman soldiers were funded even in peacetime. War didn't drain the system. It activated it. But cavalry wasn't enough. The empire also needed professional infantry. That's where the janissaries come in. Elite soldiers, highly disciplined, loyal only to the state. They came from the Devshirme system. Boys taken from Christian villages, converted, trained, and educated. This system was harsh and coercive. It shouldn't be romanticized. But financially, it did something extraordinary. The state didn't pay the cost of raising soldiers from birth. That cost was absorbed by conquered populations. The empire received trained professionals. Without decades of financial investment, combined with the Timar system, the Ottomans built a military that was powerful and affordable. Even more important, every successful war strengthened the next one. New lands meant new taxpayers, new Timars, new trade routes. New ports. European kingdoms often won wars and came home poorer. The Ottomans often came home richer. This wasn't luck. It was cash flow. The empire also relied on state monopolies. Salt, coffee, tobacco. Essential goods with predictable demand. This is the ancestor of modern strategic industries. Oil, gas, canals. Every empire has a revenue anchor. For the Ottomans, this was theirs. They also used tribute. Regions paid annual sums. Instead of being governed directly, cheaper, more stable, more profitable. For centuries, the empire avoided large-scale borrowing, and that was its real strength. But systems age. By the 1700s, global trade shifted to the oceans. European powers industrialized. The Timar system decayed. Oversight weakened. The Janissaries gained wealth and political influence until they became impossible to control. Reform required modern armies. Modern armies required cash. So the Ottomans did what they had avoided for centuries. They borrowed. European banks stepped in. Interest piled up. Control slipped away. In 1881, the empire's finances were placed under foreign supervision. 6 centuries of financial independence ended quietly on paper. The pattern is familiar. Rise through discipline. Survive through innovation. Ignore warning signs. Collapse when the economics stop working. And here's the uncomfortable part. Nothing about this is ancient. Empires don't die in battle. They die on balance sheets. The Ottomans survived as long as war paid for itself. They collapsed when it didn't. History doesn't repeat, but financial logic does. And if you don't understand it, it will crush you all the same. If this gave you a new perspective, leave a like and consider subscribing. History has the answers. You just have to know where to look.